Today, I would like to talk to you about finding purpose in uncertainty. Last week, we began this new series as we considered the life of Noah and the inspiration we can draw from it in making a difference. Well, the idea of making a difference may seem to be just too much, either because of fears that we have that hold us back or of uncertainties about what may come. It could be for all sorts of reasons. But today we're going to focus on one particular reason, and that is the fear, the thought that I can't make a difference. But I'm too small, is one way you may think of it. What difference can I make? As you may have heard, there's a story often told of a man watching a child throwing starfish back into the water at a beach as the tide receded. Those star-shaped sea creatures that get stranded when the waters goes out. And the man says to the child, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I am saving starfish." And the man points to the hundreds and thousands of starfish left behind. And he said, "But what about all of these?" And he said, "But I made a difference for this one. I made a difference for this one." And we're going now to look at some words from the Bible. And this is in Judges chapter 6. And the background here is that things were going pretty badly for the people of Israel. They were under occupation and nothing seemed to be working in improving their situation. They'd heard that God wanted the best for them. But where was God now? What on earth could happen? Who would lead them out of this situation? So in Judges chapter 6, beginning to read at verse 11. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash the Abiezerite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "But sir," Gideon replied, "if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and put us into the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" "But Lord," Gideon asked, "how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites together." Gideon replied, "If now I have found favour in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you." And the Lord said, "I will wait until you return." And in verse 20, the angel of the Lord said, "Take the meat you've brought and the unleavened bread, place them on this rock and pour the broth." And Gideon did so. With the tip of the staff that was in his hand, the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread. Fire flared from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, "Ah, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." Now, I don't know if the story of Gideon has ever been made into a feature film. It would make quite a story. We sometimes feel that things are not going well, and we may try to be positive and remind ourselves of how things have gone better in the past. And that goes for you whether you call yourself a Christian or not. You may remember how you solved problems before. Or if you're a Christian, you may remember how you saw answers to prayer. But there are those times when it seems that absolutely nothing is working, that there is uncertainty which makes it so hard to know even where to begin. And Gideon, when he had this unusual encounter with the angel of the Lord, as it says, he had all sorts of reasons to question the opportunity that he had. Now, your situation, my situation, is somewhat different than Gideon's. We're living at a different time. We're living in a different place. And yet there are certain key things that go from the book of the Bible in its ancient context right into the modern world, whatever that means for you. And as we often see when people meet God, there is both an invitation and a challenge. And for Gideon, when he sees this person appear, perhaps at first he doesn't know who it is, but he then says to Gideon, the person then says to Gideon, words that are somewhat surprising. "The Lord be with you, mighty warrior." And at this point, Gideon is probably looking over his shoulder to say, "Mighty warrior? Where's the mighty warrior? I didn't know I had a mighty warrior with me." The first words are just simply words of greeting. And then Gideon, over this conversation, begins to understand that he is that mighty warrior. He is the one who is going to make the difference that everybody is looking for. And his invitation is to follow God's leading so that he can lead the people of Israel out of captivity. Now, we're not talking about being led out of captivity in the same sense, but there may be something for you, an invitation in your life, in the world of your family, friends, neighbours, town, nation, even the world. There may be an invitation in which you're thinking, if somebody did that, or this situation is so bad that somebody has to do something, and you begin to think, who could that be? And you file it away. But then you realise that perhaps you're the one having that invitation. Maybe it's as pointed as it was for Gideon. Maybe it's as dramatic as this unusual encounter to somebody who had all sorts of reasons to say no. But one of the things I love about this encounter and about many other encounters in the Bible is that God sees us all as individuals, and he will help us. He will help us to do the things that we want to do that are good, and the things that he invites us to do that we might not have even thought about. So, what invitation are you facing? Well, back to Gideon. Gideon had an invitation, but he also saw a challenge. In fact, he saw a whole load of challenges. The first challenge was the very obvious problem. There he was, threshing wheat in a winepress. And we discover that this is because the Israelites are trying to make sure they've got the food they need, because otherwise it would be sequestered, taken away from them by the occupying Midianites. That was the extent of the situation that they were in, about as bad as it could be. But secondly, not just the size of the problem, there is the scale of the person. The size of the problem, but also the scale or size of the person. The little boy on the beach could have said, I can't make a difference. But actually, he did something. Gideon quite rightly pointed out that he was about the last person that anyone would expect to make a difference. And that must be a feeling that many of us have much of the time. I came across some interesting reflections on the internet that the things that hold us back from taking action are the map that we have inside us, the way that we see ourselves, that says, I'm not that kind of person. I can't make a difference. I am not, and then fill in the blank. And many, many people in the self-help and personal development world encourage us to reinvent ourselves, to rewrite and redraw the map and the script that is running inside us much of the time, that's come from experience, that's come from personality, that's come from words that people have said. Gideon may well have been reminded that he was the least important person in his family, who were the least important people in their whole nation. What is there in your map? What is there in your script that tells you that you can't make a difference, that you can't even change things in your own life? Well, the incredible truth is that God does not see you like that. God does not see you like that, just as he didn't see Gideon like that. God does not look at what we've done. He does not look at our past, but he looks at our potential. And he does not look at the potential that we have reached ourselves already, but the potential that we could achieve with him in us and with us. Not surprisingly, Gideon is still a little bit concerned, and he asks for a sign. In fact, if you read on, he asks for several signs. But the story of Gideon is a remarkable one of someone hearing God along with their own thoughts and discovering that God actually wants to walk with him into a better future. Not just a better future for himself, but a better future for the world around him, for his family, for his neighbours, for his nation, in fact, for the world. And I'm reminded of a time when Mother Teresa was meeting people in New York. Mother Teresa, a small Albanian woman who had very, very little advantage. And she became the leader of a group of people who made a difference for the most downtrodden and despised and derelict people in the world in Calcutta. And the difference that she made was such that she was invited into the corridors of power in the United Nations. She was invited to speak to the people who had studied and executed enormous projects to change the world. And they wanted to learn from this little old lady. And one time she was asked, she was told, in fact, the interview began like that, the work you do is like small drops of water in a vast ocean of need. And she replied fairly quickly, Yes, but the ocean is made up of individual drops of water. If you want to make a difference, then start where you are. Start with yourself. Ask for God's help. Talk to a friend about what you want to do. Maybe in one of our Connect groups or with somebody you already know. Talk about it. God has made us as human beings so that we should be with other people. Gideon will get his team together later on. We should be with other people who help us when things are hard and who encourage us and who may sometimes rein us in if we need that as well. God made us with what we could call that horizontal dimension of other people. But he also made us to be in relationship with him. And that's not just jargon. He wants the best for us. And he wants us to be those who bring his kingdom, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, here on earth as it is in heaven. And I pray, God bless you. In any uncertainty you face, in those times when you feel that you are just not capable enough, big enough, powerful enough to make a difference, God says no to that lie. And he invites you to overcome the challenges that you face with him, strengthening you, helping you, and leading you to those who will be alongside you as you make that difference. Amen.